Translation, where we talk about everything under the sun that has to do with the LGBTQIA+ community, especially fabulous trans women. And today, we are going to leave it all on the table. My name is Peppermint, and you can call me Peppermint.
My name is Carmen, and you can also call me Gabriella.
My name is Kylie Sonique Love.
Yes, you may call me Jiggly, but today, my name is Bianca Marie Castro, Philippines!
Full pageant mode, yes.
Of course!
Today we are going to be talking about pageantry, all things pageantry, and drag, and everything in between. So who has done a pageant? Raise your hands.
I've done one.
Okay.
I've done a
If
lot.
you count Drag Race, then, I mean, that is a sort of a
counts.
pageant. It counts.
It does count.
It counts. And so pageantry, that's one of the things I've always been fascinated with. Pageantry, at least in the queer circuit, it is it's almost like a lifestyle, I think. You know, like when you do enough pageants, you can see, oh, that's a pageant girl, or that's a pageant queen. It seems like it takes discipline, money, time, and skill.
Dedication.
And it's a queer tradition that, you know, we got to celebrate each other and bring our best game. And it's kind of like the Olympics or the Super Bowl of the queer world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is also very, very competitive.
Ooh.
How so? Because
nasty
I've always
girl.
heard stories of crushed glass in the powder.
Yeah, those are
Is
like
that
the
a
old
thing?
school thing. Yeah,
Girl,
I've heard about those.
I've heard they will torch a gown.
Yeah. It's competitive and it's cliquey and it's very like
girls use oil
judgy.
sheen sprayed on the floor
Yeah.
right before girls walk out for certain
right before
categories.
Showgirls.
Oh my
It
god.
gets nasty,
It
girl.
could, I think it was back then. I don't think it is as cutthroat as it is now, but it's still competitive.
I think there's a lot more pageants these days than there were 20 years ago. That's my impression. You know, pageantry, the whole concept of pageantry is universal for trans folks, cis folks, everybody. But in the queer community, it seems like drag shows and pageants, that is like right at the crossroads. Like even the gays want to go see a good drag show or a good pageant.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like they'll buy the ticket, you know? And I think that's really, it's just so interesting that our community really latches on to all that pageantry. It's almost like the flip side to the ballroom scene, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like in our community, I think like because this is even before Drag Race, the pageants is where everybody would go.
See each other.
Like it was the
community come together.
Exactly, and just to see all these goddesses compete, because it was just because the girls battle, and it's usually the most beautiful women or queens that you would ever see compete.
Well, that's just the thing. Is like, okay, so in the LGBT like world, like club world, it's like, it's our pride and joy are the performers, the drag performers and the trans performers, because those are the people that you bring your straight friends to go and see. You know, it's like, yes, let's go to the gay club, we're gonna have a good time, but there's a show.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, look how amazing they look. And like, look, that's a trans woman, oh my gosh, like she's so stunning. And it's like, you know, these like hidden gems, so to speak, you know, where you can actually be, like show other people that are not part of the community, like our art, our beauty, you know, stuff like that. So when it comes to the pageants, it's like, oh my gosh,
top
like
tier.
it's
Yeah,
about
this
to
is
go
top tier,
down.
girl.
Bring up, like, I don't know if you ever experienced this, but you know, like at the end of the pageant, when it comes to like the top three, and it's like, esa, like that's the one, that's the one,
Yeah,
that's
the Latin
one.
pageants. Oh, I heard
my
that
gosh.
about me before.
And Lord forbid somebody wins the pageant where the crowd did not think they should be crowned.
Somebody pull the
Oh,
patch.
we're talking about bottles are thrown, a fight.
That's how you know that that's a queer space, because I feel like the queers and the gays, they'll turn up a little bit at a pageant. You're not going to see that in Miss Universe or Miss America throwing bottles.
Our girls, like there are
Cutthroat.
some of these. I'm sorry, but there's a lot of us that can literally walk into these cis pageants and you can tell the difference, because those girls and the dolls are just as.
Well, this is
If
the
not
thing.
more.
No, but this is the
Yeah.
thing. The designers of the dresses and the hairstyles and the makeup artists of the cis girls are the ones that are competing in drag.
Yeah.
In the
Talk about
LGBT
it.
pageants. You see what I mean? So a lot of the reasons why like Miss Universe looks so stunning and like is because a lot of the queens are dressing them or
But let's be
designing
real
for
too,
them.
in all of industry, you want to get a good glam team, you're gonna get the community.
Of course.
Yeah,
You're not
that's
gonna
true.
go.
Her, you ain't gonna. Don't be getting me a bunch. Let's not make too many points.
We don't want to
But
get
it's
canceled.
true though. I mean, even Naomi Campbell said that. You know, she was like, if it wasn't for like queer people, you know, like we wouldn't look as amazing as we look. You know, because we have contributed so much to fashion and so much to pageantry.
I once did a pageant. It was a prelim for Miss Continental.
Oh, God.
You did Continental?
I did a prelim for it because my friend had on the system, and they were short girls or whatever. He's like, can
What
you
was the
please come and
title?
do it? It was Atlanta Continental or whatever. I was doing my talent, and this is before I had my boobs
no.
done, girl. And I was doing a Barbie talent, and I went into gymnastics Barbie, and I had like the big silicone like titties that you put in your bra.
No.
Girl, I was doing my flips, and my titty came out of my bra into my leotard and like landed in my crotch, girl.
Oh,
Yes, it was so
That is-
embarrassing.
Devastating.
A nightmare.
Yeah, and then they just
And
kind of
did you
like
just keep
turned.
going?
Well, I tried to, and then I was gonna change it to something else, and then they had. I guess they thought it was over, and they had turned the light off.
They were like,
They
let's
did you a
help
favor.
her. Let's help
did you
her.
like,
They
thank you,
helped you,
Jesus.
girl. They helped you.
I hope that tape,
Oh
if that
my
DVD is
gosh.
out there, please don't watch it. You will die in
Why are
7
you
days.
telling people
The
about
entire internet just ordered.
They don't know what year
just
it is.
Googled
That's not gonna be hard.
This is back when they had VCR tape.
VHS. Yeah.
You know,
I learned a lot.
We have to congratulate because she is
Yes.
the
Yes.
first trans woman to win in the American franchise. And
Huge.
being that you are the first trans woman to compete on RuPaul's Drag Race,
Right.
it is like
It's a full
circle.
And
Yeah.
we have to commend you for that.
That's
That is
beautiful.
like,
Thank you.
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
Oh, you should have brought the crown with you.
Girl, that
Yeah, I
thing
thought
is
we
in
would've
storage.
had the crown right
There's
here.
a space for it right
The
there.
crown is in storage.
We are going to take a break and we will be right back because we got lots more to talk about.
When you actually use your body for other things besides gender expression, it really helps you to sort of bridge those gaps between, you know, you and your body. And there's a certain power from that. So I feel very free being able to put in that work and be athletic.
I think knowing what I know now, I would have, but at that age, I probably would have been too nervous.
Welcome back to Translation. Tonight we are talking about all things pageant. And one of the most popular pageants, one that I have always looked up to and look forward to seeing who the winner was going to be and trying to find the performance, the talent performance on online afterwards or like the next day.
Yeah.
Is always Continental.
Oh, Miss
Continental is,
Continental girl.
for
that
our
has a
community, that is
special
to
place
me
in my heart.
the epitome
It is
of
the
doll.
yes.
How did
yes.
it start? Do you know the history of it?
So Continental was created in 1980, and the reason why it was created because at the time when all these pageants were coming up in our community, we weren't allowed to compete.
Trans women.
Trans women were allowed to compete because we had an advantage. We weren't padded or we weren't, you know.
It sounds
we're
very Drag Race.
enhanced.
We had an advantage. No, we were advanced. There's a difference.
History has its way of repeating itself, I see. Just saying.
I mean, I think times have changed.
No.
they
I just
have,
had to do that. No. I agree. Yeah, of course times have changed, which I'm just like honestly like astonished that there's so much opportunity for us
I've
these
always
days.
said
but-
this, like to any of the fans, if it wasn't for you and Kylie, like you guys crawled through the mud and like dug and ran so girls after you could walk and be able to be seen and represented in a way that is respected. 'Cause,
Yeah,
you know, like
I feel
I
that.
think it's just time. Our society is evolving. We are evolving as people, and thank God that there's upward mobility where people can see other past what their assumptions. And
Yeah, I
that's
think
one thing
that-
I feel like with the pageantry, it created a space for trans women to be able to to compete and to be seen. And you know, beautiful women have won the Miss Continental, and for the most part, Miss Continental is won by trans women. I think there's only been 5 cis gay men that have won Continental. Everybody else has been pretty much trans women. And then when I tell you these women are like some of the most beautiful women in the world.
I mean, it's probably fair to say that anybody who's won Continental has looked pretty good.
Girl, I'm talking.
Cis or trans.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, you're putting a lot into it. But one of the things that's really interesting is that, again, I keep coming back to ballroom because I feel like it kind of is the yin to the yang of ballroom. It's
because
just
it's
like the
our
other
way
side.
for our community to celebrate each other. Because we are not in mainstream. So since we, for a long time, couldn't compete in Miss Universe or Miss USA.
Until now.
This was, till now.
Yeah.
But now this was our way to be that Miss Universe.
But I think also too, like Miss Continental specifically was always about the beauty, capturing the beauty. Because I think when people think drag, you know, they think of like kind of campy, like big hair, like over the top. But for me, like even 10 years ago, drag meant, you know, just feminine and gorgeous and, you know,
To the
glamorous
extreme,
and and it wasn't, but it was more of an umbrella term. Like it wasn't so specific, like, you know, drag. Like it was more like
You're just-
so
you're
many
up and
things
down.
were in there, you know, but ultimately it was the beauty, which was something that I always try to channel with my like drag character. It was like, I want to stun people, you know, with my expression of my beauty and femininity. And I think Continental has always been that go-to pageant where it's like, you know, if you go to Miss Gay USA, you're gonna see a lot of dancing queens.
Yes.
You know, if you go to Miss Universal Show Queen, you're gonna see, you know, that
Right.
like
Vegas
feathers
style.
and
Showgirls,
Vegas
yeah.
like thing, but Miss Continental, you're gonna see that
dance.
illusion that is like,
More effortless.
wow,
Yes.
like these women are like,
Body.
Stripped down.
yeah, like
And
high glamour and like feminine and
But because
Beautiful.
we came up into that world of Escolita and the dolls that were working at Escolita were all the pageant girls.
I mean, not to, you know, reveal anyone's age, but I think those of us that were doing drag during the same decade, I think this style around that time was, in terms of for drag, was looking more
Real.
real, like cis
Real.
women.
Realness.
Even
You could
the
go
drag
out
queens,
during the day
you
and
just
no
wanted
one
to
would
be like one of the
spook you.
owls.
Nobody wanted to be spooked.
And we will be right back in just a few.
When you see yourself represented somewhere, it gives you hope. It gives you a glimmer of a chance that could be me. And, you know, I feel like that, above all, is the most important thing, is to see yourself in the future.
Ballroom is so many things to so many people. It is community, it is representation, it is accomplishment, it's family, it's recognition, and given us so many wonderful things, including the very, very wonderful art of voguing. Welcome back to Translation. We are in the middle of a very, very good convo about pageantry and drag race and drag on TV and trans representation in all of these things.
Yeah.
We were just talking about Drag Race. I would be remiss if I didn't mention a new show that I was on and actually won, spoiler alert.
Yes.
Call Me Mother, which is 3 houses, 3 mothers, and 1 winner. And from season 1, at the onset, the objective was to bring complete queer representation to drag. Trans folks, non-binary folks, not only in the identities of the actual performers, but also in their drag expression.
Oh, cool.
So we had drag kings,
Wow.
obviously drag queens, and folks who did not just a genderless drag,
Okay.
which I think is so exquisite.
And honestly, if you watch season 1 of Drag Race, the judges panel, they were giving, I think, the first episode, the critique was like, she don't even look like a woman. Did you ever catch that?
I don't.
Because I felt
didn't
like
watch
that's a
season
really
1.
good summary of the time of how people perceived if you were a good drag queen or not, is if you
In that
looked like a
time.
woman during that time.
During that
Yeah.
time, which was the mid
100%.
to late, early first decade of of the 2000s.
Yeah, like, and it was sort of the same thing. So,
And I know my season 2, we all wanted
was it like that?
to
too?
look
look
as
like a
close
woman.
as a woman as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was my experience was very different. You know, talking about Drag Race and talking about being trans on the show. I had been doing drag since 1997. But
What? Joking.
go straight to hell. And but I, you know, and I was really feeling successful in the world of drag, and it wasn't until later, kind of the second chapter of my drag life, that I actually went on to auditioned to go on Drag Race. And when I was auditioning, the conversation that was happening, very, very spirited conversation, was whether they should use certain language that we today consider to be transphobic on the show. And I really remember the very public and very nasty discourse that was happening, and it made its way off of the show into the conversation in the community. I had friends that were on Facebook at the time that were saying, "Don't tell me, gay men, don't tell me what to say in my own house. I'll say what I want," saying they want to use this language.
Yes.
Yeah.
And obviously, you had a very, very public moment on national television.
Yeah.
With Katie Couric, and so that I thought was, you know, I think the moment that I realized there was such a terrible divide, if it wasn't that, was one of the winners of the show, previous winner of the show, who I'm friends with and we all know, was at a gig and said something terribly transphobic about you at that gig, and it was on video, and it kind of spread like wildfire, and the crowd was so happy that she said this very transphobic thing about Carmen. And that was heartbreaking to me, because it was like, our community is really, you know, torn apart on this point.
I think honestly, we've been going through such a transformation about respecting each other, respecting ourselves, because for so long we were okay with putting each other down because the world did that to us. So we might as well just embrace it and just like, you know, make each other feel as shitty as the world was making us feel. And so my vision at the time was, you know, so many new people are watching Drag Race and are embracing our community, and we really have to be conscious about what we say, the words we use, because if we are easily throwing around these slurs or like words that are meant to put us down, it's gonna make it okay for the rest of the world to do that. And so that's just gonna set the precedent. And I was just like, dude, like, we can't do this, you know, like, it's not right. And, you know, we should be a better representation. That was my intention. Like, we should be a better representation of ourselves. But I think we've not only been transitioning the world to give us respect and use the correct language, but like even, like within our community.
But that's like I said, like, because of Kylie coming out at the reunion and then you letting the world
It started
know,
like the snowball effect.
The snowball effect, like, girl, like in my season, there was Kenya, myself, and LaShawn. We were all transitioning while we were filming.
Wow.
We just didn't talk about it because we didn't know. Okay, so people always assume why I didn't speak about my transition when I was already transitioning in the world. I didn't come out and I didn't want to speak about my transition because I was afraid. It wasn't that, because the producers were asking me. I just didn't want to talk about it because I didn't feel secure in my womanhood, in my female presenting, to come out and say it, because I know the world is cruel.
Yeah, and you know, the minute you put that information out there, you're gonna have to deal with everyone's opinion,
about your body. All right, so we're gonna continue this. It's getting kind of hot, so we will continue this conversation in just a few.
Now, even though like things have gotten better in a lot of ways, there's still parts of me that I struggle with, and I have to remind myself that I've gotten this far, and I just try to remind myself of how fabulous I am, and just keep going.
The topic of sex work is important to me because it is part of my past. It is part of my being. It has helped shape the woman that I am today. It was fast money. It was easy access to money, and men were willing to pay, and at the same time, it fed my ego. So it is important to talk about it because it does happen. And realistically, sex work is the oldest occupation in the world.
And welcome back to Translation. We are talking about pageants, and we had to stop. But girl, take us back into it because we're gonna go into something major.
Because of Carmen and obviously Kylie and Carmen, because they literally started the snowball effect. There's the representation of our sisters on RuPaul's Drag Race has grown immensely.
And
Yes.
brothers.
And brothers, obviously, yeah. One for now, brother. So yeah,
absolutely.
so it's grown, and like, it is just so beautiful to see because, girl, there's 4 in this like current season. You know what I mean? Like
That's
huge.
I think at least 4, and that's
Yeah.
Season 14,
you know.
yeah.
At least that we know of, it's 4 of them that's come out. It's so cool to see, and you know that times are changing.
Times are definitely changing. It was I think I went on to Drag Race at a time that was so awkward. It was in that growing phase, because obviously now, clearly they're looking for trans talent.
Yes.
And when I went onto the show, I was afraid of what you talked about, where it's less about like, do we want a trans woman or not? It's more like, well, is there she's going to have an advantage, because that was one of the things.
Is there going to be a
that was talked about.
contrast?
They're gonna be- yeah.
What's the
Where's
advantage?
the
transformation?
Where's the transformation? We want to see a transformation and
But I don't think, for me, I don't ever think that the transformation is a part of the show. I never thought that the transformation was part of the show. I always thought it was the talent and what you brought on the runway. And if your jokes were effective, if your talent, that's really what I thought it was.
Nobody ever talked about the transformation.
I mean, half the
Yeah,
queens
we
don't
don't
even
talk
wear
about
the
that
queens on the
part.
show.
You know, I knew that like, 8 or 9 months later it was going to air and I was going to be in a different place in my life. So I had that anxiety of like people getting to know an older version of me, even
the
a
wrong
version
time.
of me that I don't even, it was like the most awkward phase of my transition, which is in the very beginning of it. And that kind of like had haunted me for years and years and years after that, because when you introduce yourself to the world, that's how they remember you, and it took, me coming back to that Christmas special and then going on to All Stars, where I was able to, that's why I say I wanted to reintroduce myself to who I really am versus,
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. That's all the time we have today, but we will be back with another fabulous episode, and you don't want to miss the next one here at Translation.